Welcome back to the Veal Echo, where tonight we step into the dark corridors of mystery, tracing the twisting case of Sheriff Mickey Stines. At first glance, Mickey was the kind of sheriff people expected to see in a small town, stern, quiet, and wrapped in authority. His badge, weathered and scratched, carried more than just the mark of his service. It carried secrets that time tried to bury. In his dimly lit office, the sheriff's desk sat heavy with dust, and under the flicker of a dying lamp, case files whispered stories of crimes long unsolved. Sheriff Stines patrolled not just the streets but the very heart of a town that seemed frozen in time. On those lonely country roads at night, headlights slicing through fog revealed more than empty highways. They revealed a man wrestling with shadows both real and imagined. The townsfolk watched him with a mix of respect and fear, as if they knew something he didn't want spoken aloud. Often he could be seen alone in the misty woods, lantern in hand, searching for what no one truly knew, perhaps for justice, perhaps for absolution, but wherever he went, silence followed. An abandoned farmhouse stood at the edge of town, its broken windows like hollow eyes keeping watch over the sheriff's midnight wanderings. Rumors spread quickly. What was Mickey looking for in the ruins of forgotten homes, and why did he always return with his face carved deeper in worry? One night, under the pale glow of the moon, a blood-stained hat was found in the tall grass near that very farmhouse. It wasn't just any hat, it was a sheriff's hat, torn and soaked with the past. The evidence room inside his office overflowed with tattered files, but none seemed as personal as this. A single confidential folder sat at the center of his desk, pages spilling with photos and scribbled notes, as though the sheriff himself couldn't bear to close it. When he looked into the cracked mirror of his office, half his reflection was hidden in shadow. A man divided between the law he swore to uphold and the secrets gnawing at his conscience. The people saw it too. Inside the neon-lit diner, whispers chased him like shadows, the locals staring, questioning whether the lawman was protector or suspect. As the days turned into nights, Mickey Stines began to look less like a sheriff and more like a man hunted by his own past, by the town's suspicions, and by the truth that lingered just beyond reach. The twisting case had begun not with a crime but with the man sworn to solve it. And in this small, eerie town, justice was no longer a clear line, it was a knot of lies waiting to unravel. The twisting case of Sheriff Mickey Stines deepened when whispers turned into accusations, and the town's silence became louder than words. Inside the courthouse, shadows clung to every corner. Faces blurred by secrecy sat in judgment, while Sheriff Stines stood at the witness stand, a man meant to enforce the law now forced to defend himself against it. His uniform, once a symbol of order, now looked more like a costume masking the truth. In the sheriff's office, the tension only grew. A stranger in a black coat lingered at the doorway one late evening, his presence unsettling, his silence heavier than any threat. Who was he? A drifter, a messenger, or someone who knew too much? Stines never said. He only tightened his grip on his files and turned away as if the very air carried betrayal. Soon after, the sheriff's patrol car was found parked outside a crumbling cemetery under dark storm clouds. Its headlights dimmed, its engine cold. The townsfolk whispered that he spent hours there, packing between graves, muttering names no one recognized. Was he protecting the dead, or was he burying the truth among them? The evidence of his unraveling grew more public. A bold headline plastered across the local newspaper read, "Sheriff under suspicion." The words pinned on a bulletin board at the diner became the town's new sermon. Everyone who walked in read it, and everyone who walked out carried the story further. At the center of it all stood Mickey Stines, his reputation eroding like the old walls of his office. Inside that office, candlelight flickered as he scribbled furiously in his logbook, his hand trembling, his eyes hollow. The sheriff was no longer a man in control but a man drowning in secrets he could no longer contain. A family portrait sat cracked on his desk, the frame shattered, his once proud image fractured. The photo, once a memory of happier times, had become a haunting reminder of everything he had lost, or perhaps everything he had sacrificed. The town did not stay silent for long. Crowds gathered outside the sheriff's office, their voices rising with anger, their suspicion transforming into outrage. They demanded answers, demanded truth, demanded justice. Mickey stood inside, revolver in hand, sweat dripping from his brow as if the weapon itself weighed more than his entire past. He was a sheriff at war not with criminals, but with the very people he had sworn to protect. Behind the iron doors of the county jail, cells creaked with eerie resonance. One door, half open, seemed to beckon with a ghostly glow. Was it an escape, a warning, or a reminder that justice can be twisted, locked away, and forgotten? And in the dust-filled evidence room where boxes piled high with neglected truths, the sheriff searched for something, anything, that could clear his name. Papers scattered, notes burned, yet the mystery only grew tighter around him. The town's silence was no longer innocent, it was complicit, a shroud covering the darkest. The storm that had been gathering around Sheriff Mickey Stines finally broke, not with thunder in the sky but with thunder in the town's heart. The sheriff, once a man of authority, now stood at the edge of ruin. Rain poured relentlessly, soaking his hat and uniform as he lingered by the cemetery, the lightning above revealing a face carved with guilt and desperation. Every grave he passed seemed to whisper, each name etched into stone reminding him of what he had lost, or perhaps what he had caused. In the stillness of his office, the cracks in his sanity became clearer. His hand shook as he lit another cigarette, the ashtray overflowing with burned notes, pages of evidence, testimonies, and secrets he could not let survive. His revolver sat on the desk beside him, polished but heavy, like the final piece of control he still possessed. Every puff of smoke curled like a ghost, haunting him with memories he could not erase. The town had turned from suspicion to fury. Rumors swelled into truths, and truths twisted into legends. They said Mickey wasn't just covering crimes, he was part of them. Some whispered that he had buried evidence, others claimed he had blood on his hands. But the most chilling stories came from those who saw him late at night, wandering the endless hallways of the county building, his silhouette moving under flickering lights like a man trapped between worlds. Was he searching for answers, or was he hiding from them? One photograph, discovered in the evidence room, told a story more haunting than any rumor. It was a faded image of the sheriff standing among the townsfolk years ago, smiling in what seemed to be a moment of peace. But in the present, the photo was defaced, faces of those around him violently scratched out, leaving only Mickey's eyes staring back. What did it mean? Who had marked it? Was it his own hand, or someone else who wanted to remind him of the people lost under his watch? The people demanded answers, but Mickey had none to give. The storm outside became a mirror of the storm within him. The courthouse that once held his authority now seemed to stand against him. The jail cells he had filled with others' sins now looked like they waited for him. Justice, once his weapon, had become his executioner. The final blow came quietly, without spectacle, without resistance. His badge, once his pride, once the symbol of his life's work, was found cracked and broken, lying in the dirt. No speech, no confession, no trial, just a piece of tarnished metal abandoned under the weight of storm clouds. The sheriff was gone, swallowed by the silence of the town and the secrets he carried to his grave. But his story did not end with him. It lingered, in the broken frame of his family's portrait, in the candle wax that hardened over half-written confessions, in the revolver left untouched after that final night, in the whispers of the people who still gathered at the diner, staring at the empty seat where he once sat, lowering their voices when the door creaked. Sheriff Mickey Stines became a legend, not of honor but of warning, a man who carried justice in his hands and let it slip through his fingers, a man whose shadow will forever hang over the small town he tried to protect and perhaps betrayed. His name, once spoken with respect, is now whispered with unease. The twisting case of Sheriff Mickey Stines does not close with truth but with silence, because in this town, silence has always been louder than the truth itself.